Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's check out Miracle Snack Shop on PC. Alright, our settings here. I think I'm gonna be okay with all this. Alright. Yeah. Alright, let's review. My life was like this empty bowl, destined to be filled with shaved ice. At first, I was completely empty, dressed up right through. I could become any kind of shaved ice. My empty bowl was a vessel of infinite potential, and I could become whatever kind of shaved ice I wanted to be. I could be shaved ice topped with fruit, perfect for a romantic date at a cafe. I could be topped with blueberries, giving off an air of luxury and wealth. I could be topped with... yeah, there we go. Okay. I could be mixed with brie. Not for everyone, but maybe just right for that certain successful businessman with expensive tastes. Or brie. Yeah. Whatever. I could be mixed with an expensive coffee blend, suited for that intelligent but rather cold city gentleman. I could get a little sidetracked and end up getting mixed with black sesame seeds, showing off some of the more strange and unique sides of this world. Maybe I could just be a traditional shaved ice dessert from Jeonju, a city rich with Korean tradition. The possibilities were simply endless. Sorry to spoil the ending so soon, but I ended up being just your normal old shaved ice, topped with a red bean paste like we Koreans call bat. This was me in my late teens. Even as the ice was being shaved down, I still had hope. That's because at that point, there was nothing to distinguish me from anyone else. Shaved ice, no matter whether it's topped with fruit, coffee, or whatever, all starts out as ice, plain and simple. Everyone around me started out the same way. I had no idea at the time. How could I know that I'd be regular old shaved ice, that people around me would turn into all those beautiful desserts that I described before? Of course, there were a few who were noticeably different from birth. There were the ices flavored with chocolate and green tea before the shaving even began, separating them from the pack at an early age. Everyone knows those kinds of people. They collect awards like it's some kind of hobby to them. Things are different for those kinds of people. They are so unique they don't even factor into this kind of metaphor. Well, like I said, I still had a dream at this point. I was determined to become shaved ice that was truly amazing. I'd just like to clarify that this was all a big metaphor. This was me in my mid-20s. Specifically, it was right after my mandatory stint in the military that Korean men are required to serve. Before I had even realized what had happened, I had become normal shaved ice topped with red bean paste. It was just like every other shaved ice walking around with a few years of experience in the military. I had no fresh, new flavors. I was just a regular old run-of-the-mill shaved ice. I couldn't believe it, but I had been rushing through life just to become your everyday man on the street at 25 years old. I started to lose my energy for life. I started to feel like old age was creeping up on my heels. I even thought my eyesight was going. Even with all the signs, I couldn't accept defeat. I couldn't accept the fact that I was just regular old shaved ice. I wouldn't give up. I'd make my own new flavors. But I didn't know back then. I didn't know that all that effort was to change myself. I didn't know that all that effort to change myself was just adding new toppings onto the old ones. This was me in my late 20s. I tried my best, but things just didn't work out. My efforts to better myself added some interesting toppings here and there, but I didn't have any sense of direction. All the random jobs that I tried out did nothing to strengthen my idea of who I actually was. Life wasn't flowing in one clear direction. I'd start one thing and then quit when things weren't working out. All these incomplete experiences just piled on the toppings. Before I realized what happened, I had become a complete mess of shaved ice and toppings, a mess of part-time jobs and no real skills. A shaved ice. Messy shaved ice. Just saying that made me sad. But I didn't give up. My shaved ice dream wasn't over yet. I was determined to become an attractive shaved ice. Successful shaved ice. The more I said it, the worse it sounded. Successful it just didn't sound all that good. Just like that, I was lost, wandering through life, when suddenly an old friend from high school got in touch with me. keep the metaphor going, a wild shaved ice appeared. I was lost and confused. I was a lost, confused little shaved ice, but standing in front of me was a sleek, dressed-up shaved ice with a splash of coffee mixed in. From one shaved ice to another. What do you think about a partnership? Okay, this metaphor has grown legs and run off with me. My friend, dressed in his custom tailor suit, suggested we open up an online shopping site together. He said that he had been studying fashion and had a line on some imported clothes. He dressed the part. So, unlike my scruffy-looking shaved ice self, he looked like a snazzy shaved ice that could get things done. For some reason, I trusted him. That's how the shabby shaved ice miraculously stumbled upon his partnership with the coffee shaved ice. The outcome was obvious. I started a business with my friend. Doesn't everyone know the ending to that story? And it ended like this. This is the present situation. This is an artist rendition of the 31-year-old Swa Cha who, after a failed joint venture, was left with a staggering amount of debt. Like a tower of blocks stacked much too high, all the toppings of my life crashed down around me. That's what happens when you let others' thoughts get in the way. What a mess. That's how I ended up serving shaved ice at this snack shop. I skipped over a few parts of the story. I forgot, there is an epilogue to the tragic partnership between the shabby shaved ice and the coffee shaved ice. Epilogue sounds much too grand. Let's call it the cookie topping. Wasn't that the name of that little scene at the end of the movies, the credit cookie? Anyway, I scoured the country, trying to find my friend who had gone into hiding. I never found him, but I did find his parents. He'd probably fled the country, so getting the money from him would be out of the question. Instead, I told his parents about the seriousness of my current situation. Your precious son has left me with all his debt and run off. Is there any way we can fix all this? I felt like some kind of a vicious loan shark saying that. We cannot come up with that kind of money right now. Out of all the bad things that had happened, I had to at least be thankful he didn't just slam the door in my face. For this shaved ice, caught in a never-ending spiral that was drawing him into the abyss, there was one last ray of hope. I have a small restaurant in the neighborhood that sells snacks and desserts. Could that be of any help to you? So it's a snack shop? That's how I came to run this small restaurant with a studio on the second floor, until I was able to pay off my debts at least. Right when it was signed over to me, I heard something strange from the real estate agent. Someone died in the room upstairs. It's haunted. The building has so many suspicious rumors floating about it that I couldn't sell the property or find anyone who was willing to rent it. Having all that sprung on me at the last second made me feel a bit misled, but who was I to complain? At least I found a way out. In the course of one eventful morning, I had become the owner of a little snack shop. I wanted to change the sign over the door and the menus, but I didn't have the cash to change either, so instead I just opened it up as it was. The place was called Miracle Snack Shop. They normally sold tteokbokki, rice cake served in a spicy sauce, and a variety of fried foods like tempura. Since it was summer, they added shaved ice, known as bingsu, to their menu. Since all the equipment was there and ready, I decided to try my hand at making my own shaved ice. After all, I needed the practice. I tried my best, but this was all I could manage. I got rid of my failed shave ice experiment. I looked around the place and was greeted by an empty store. Not a customer in sight. When I took over the store, I heard that business wasn't great. I hadn't expected that to mean that there was no customers at all. Time flies when you're having fun. There was actually a bigger issue not having any customers. Maybe it wasn't bigger? When you actually got down to it, there weren't many problems bigger than having no customers, were there? Come to think of it, the two things weren't really comparable. My mind went back to the strange thing that the real estate agent had said. This place was apparently haunted. No details came after that claim. There were just rumors. I wasn't really a superstitious person, but it never felt good to hear about a place that you were supposed to inhabit. The rumors just nagged at you from the back of your mind. Maybe the rumors were what were keeping the customers away as well. Still, I didn't give it much serious thought. It wasn't like I was suddenly being plagued with nightmares or anything. Rumors were just that. Rumors. That was what I thought before that thing appeared upstairs. Let's see. Advance the story by selecting the scene in the Actions tab. Actions allow you to improve your... Carry out the action, yes. Whew, I'm exhausted. I hadn't done that much, but I felt so tired. Was this the plight of all business owners? I hadn't worked that hard, but at the end of the day, the exhaustion all flooded in at once. If I were swarmed with customers and unable to get a second's rest, that would give me back some of my energy? How could I know when it had never happened? I walked to the corner of my little studio, and I threw open the curtains there. As I did, I was able to see the portal shimmering there. This portal had been the source of all my worries these days. A month ago, I had discovered this mysterious portal in the corner of the attic living space. It's definitely just not my mind playing tricks on me. I had moved an inch in the past month. I knew what it was. I'd seen plenty of portals in video games and movies. A magical door that connected two distinct places. The problem was, I couldn't see through the portal to see where it led. All I could see was the swirling vortex. I had no clue where it went. If I were 10 years younger, I would have just jumped in without a second thought. But the years had made me more cautious and concerned for my own safety. I couldn't just throw myself into the vortex without knowing what dangers lie ahead. And I'd be in serious trouble if I couldn't come back. Since I couldn't figure out where the portal would lead, I just let it hang where it was for a whole month. My friends would get a kick out of this. If they were able to hear about it. If a portal appears inside your house, shouldn't you at least go see where it leads? Of course it's going to lead to some fantasy world. That's common sense, ain't it? Actually, being confronted with the situation was a completely different story. What if the portal were to send me back to the Jurassic or something? Maybe a dinosaur's gaping mouth was waiting for me on the other end. If I had absolutely nothing to lose on this end, I'd jump in without a second thought, but I was too much of a coward to risk the little I had. The portal itself could even be dangerous. I didn't know where it led, if it was safe, or if I could get back. Until I could confirm those things, I wasn't able to act. It wasn't safe to act rashly or even touch the thing. I didn't even know if the thing was even stable. What if passing through created an explosion and pieces of the snack shop were sent flying into the street? In an act of desperation, I taped my phone to the edge of a small rod and stuck it through the portal. I figured I could see the phone's camera I could set the phone's camera on a timer to snap a picture. I was rather excited to see what was on the other side. But a black screen was all I got. I couldn't tell if the phone had malfunctioned or if only darkness lay on the other side of the portal. Another day wasted as I stared at the portal and wondered what was on the other side. It would be so much better if someone just jumped out and simply told me, "It's safe to go through, come on in." Then couldn't it just as easily be a monster that were to jump out? A strangely just dressed woman popped out of the portal. As I was staring at the portal, she suddenly appeared, running straight in my direction. Running right into my arms. I dodged out of the way right before she collided with me. Almost got me. I would have been run over by a strange woman. Good thing I was paying attention. Was it just me? It felt hot in that attic, like heat was suddenly radiating off of something or someone. Miss, are you okay? The strange woman stared at me with fear in her eyes. But her outfit was extravagant. She looked like she had just come from some frozen tundra. Could that mean that this portal led to some place like Russia or Siberia? I stared at the mysterious lady who had suddenly appeared from the portal. She stared at me, then her lips parted as she began to speak. The first words to come out of her mouth were... Are you going to ask me what year it is? Never mind. I thought you might be a time traveler or something. I was so excited that I had interrupted her. I closed my mouth and waited for her to try again. She opened her mouth to speak again. I wasn't aware of how intently I was waiting to hear her speak, but I could feel my Adam's apple travel up and down as I gulped in anticipation. Right when I saw her, I had this feeling in my gut that our meeting was destined by fate. This was a crucial moment. The first words would be engraved in my brain for the rest of my natural life. With all the drama of the situation hanging over my head, the first words out of her mouth were...
Who's this?
I had no idea what she said. Do you speak Korean?
Good.
Do you speak English?
Anglicus?
She definitely wasn't Korean. I couldn't tell what language she was speaking. All I knew was that I couldn't understand a single word she was saying. I tried a few other questions after that, but the only replies I got all started with something that sounded like goo to me. She must have realized that I didn't understand her because she stopped speaking altogether. It sounded like she was cooing like a pigeon. Coo? Coo?
Go?
Q?
Q.
She glared at me again. Why? What had I said? I was just trying to copy what she was saying, what she had been saying. I heard her stomach growling. Are you hungry? She didn't have anything for me to understand, she didn't have to say anything for me to understand that she was rather embarrassed. I thought about how to communicate the question, then tried to act out eating with my hands. She must have understood my game of charades, because she replied with a slight nod. What can I make for her? I had already shut off all the machines and put them away, so there wasn't a lot that I could make for her. The fastest thing I could whip up was, well, I could easily put together a bowl of shaved ice. I took out the ice shaving machine, filled it with ice cubes, and made my usual shaved ice topped with red bean paste. But when she saw what I was making, she didn't look very happy.
Gracias.
Gracias?
Gracias.
Why? Did she have something against ice? I figured she must not have shaved ice wherever she came from. Oh, don't be like that. Just try it. Not like I poisoned her or anything. Right. What's the use explaining? Wasn't like she understood a single word I was saying anyway. Then she suddenly seemed shocked. What had she seen that had scared her so badly? I tried to see what she was looking at. There was nothing but my empty restaurant. Was she shocked at how empty the place was? She flailed her arms through the air. I didn't notice anything there, but she was waving her arms as if something was hovering in front of her. It looked like she was swiping at some giant tablet. Was she seeing things? Or could it be the ghost I had been warned about?
얼음.
Huh?
Gracias. 얼음.
Did you just say ice? Ice?
얼음.
Right. Ice.
얼음. Gracias. 얼음.
She frowned, her eyes moving between me and the space between us. Then she began waving her arms boisterously through the air again. It looked like someone swiping between screens. I couldn't see anything, but from the way she was moving, it definitely seemed like there was something there. Was this the feeling people get when they watch others play VR games? I had no idea what she was doing, but whatever it was helping her understand a little bit of what I was saying. Should I give it another go? I pointed at the shaved ice and said, "Shaved ice."
빈수.
Shaved ice.
Certificado por gracias. 빙수.
Right, shaved ice with red beans.
빙수. 팥빙수.
Oh, red beans are, well, they go on the top of the shaved ice. Red beans are, some call them adzuki beans. Like that would help at all. It's a bean. It's sweet and red. She must have been having a hard time with sentences, so I decided to communicate with just a few words. Red bean.
루브스 바바? 빨간 콩?
Right, red bean. The red beans and shaved ice come together to create shaved ice with red bean paste.
루브스 바바. Certificado por gracias.
Please speak my language.
빨간 콩 빙수.
Wow, now we're talking. I guess you can understand me. She stared at the space between us again. I couldn't be sure, but there must have been some invisible translation device hovering in the space between us. My name is, Suwa Cho. If it was a translation device, it was having trouble with sentences. Name.
놈이네.
Suwa Cha.
The Storia?
No, not tortilla. Sul Wa Cha. Call me Sula.
Sora?
Sula.
설화?
Then what's your name? What can I call you? This again. I had to remember to keep it to words, simple words. Your name.
Regina Salis.
Then can I call you Regina? Your name, Regina.
레지나 여왕. 레지나 살리스. 소금 여왕.
Ugh. She was a queen. I had no idea. How did she end up coming to a normal place like... Oh yeah, she came through the portal. Then, should I call you Queen Salt? She nodded. Queen Salt. I never heard a title like that in my life. Was there some country of salt on the other side of the world that I'd never heard of about? Okay then. Welcome to the Miracle Snack Shop, Queen Salt. Let's see, learn your first shaved ice recipe for Queen Salt. You can improve your cooking skills. Try out the recipe. Red bean shaved ice failure. Cooking increased by 10. Serve shaved ice to Queen Salt. Actions. Yes. Back to the story. The queen scooped out a spoonful of shaved ice and brought it to her mouth with a grimace. She gathered up the courage to take a bite, and...
Goodness!
She dropped the spoon at the last second. If someone had been watching, they would have thought I was forcing her to eat something awful. There was no other choice, though. I scooped out another spoonful, careful to get some shaved ice and some of the red bean topping.
Autumn! Autumn! Autumn!
She just kept shouting ice and glaring at me. Yeah, I got it. For some reason, the idea of eating ice was making her angry. I snuck a spoonful of shaved ice closer and closer. And right when her anger was at its highest, I shoved the spoon into her mouth. Got her. Right when I stuck the spoon in her mouth, it was like she went into a complete shock. Her eyes darted here and there. And then she just stopped. Yep, I could guess what thoughts were going through her mind. How can ice possibly taste like this? That's exactly what she was thinking. I would react the same way if I went to another country and someone stuck a spoonful of something weird in my mouth. I probably looked pretty strange to her, but it sure did taste good. That must have been why she was reacting like this. She still had a look of shock on her face, but her tongue was rolling the ice back and forth in her mouth to melt it. Good, huh? The queen looked down at the bowl of shaved ice and then back up at me. She pointed at the dessert in front of her.
Autumn?
Yep, that's ice.
Autumn.
She ate another bite, trying to figure out the mystery behind the bizarre dessert. That bite was completely voluntary. Yes, success.
Delectamente.
That must have meant delicious? It would be quite embarrassing if it meant something else, though. She took another bite. Her face slowly started to soften up. I'm just glad she didn't think I was poisoning her anymore. The queen looked at her invisible translator again. She looked at me and said,
맛있어.
Wow. Seeing the thankful expression on her face was quite touching. Queen Salt began eating little bites here and there, careful not to disturb the overall presentation. I felt so proud to have a queen eat my own creation with such elegance and grace. I never felt like this when kids came in to eat. How strange. After the bowl was completely emptied out, I listened as she properly introduced herself again. Before she tried to communicate, though, she went into a corner and felt the foreign words roll off her tongue. She must have wanted to test her pronunciation on the translator before speaking the words to me. And did it actually exist, this invisible translator?
음식 대접 고맙다.
It's nothing. I can give you as much shaved ice as you want. I had to throw away the leftover product at the end of the day anyway.
얼음.
Queen Salt stood there quietly for a second before continuing her thought. At first I thought she was figuring out what she wanted to say, but the more I watched her, the more it seemed like she was just waiting on whatever translator she had in front of her. She had put whatever I said through her translator and then translate whatever she wanted to say before speaking it. Of course, that would take some time. But she stopped after the one word, ice. What about ice?
왜 얼음 먹지?
I'm not sure what you mean. It's just something we eat. I guess you don't have shaved ice where you come from.
얼음 벽을 만들 때 쓴다. 먹는 것 아니다.
Bricks were made of ice in her world? Then I've had bricks to Queen Salt. If you think of it like that, it must have been quite the culture shock. If her country used ice as bricks, well, was she from the North Pole? Guessing from her outfit, the chances of her coming from a cold climate were pretty high. We eat ice here. Just relax. We don't use ice for bricks. It's just food.
이상하다.
What's strange?
너의 말 조금씩 들린다.
Huh? Then you couldn't hear what I was saying before? No way. Did she just have a hearing problem?
그런 뜻 아니다. 너의 말이 서서히 이해된다. 여기에 안 보이나?
Queen Salt gestured to the air in front of her.
이렇게 쓰여 있다. 한국어 레벨 2.
Then it was level 1 when we first met? She nodded. It just changed to level 2? She nodded again. So that means you're slowly learning my language.
그대, 이것이 보이나?
No, I don't see anything. She still seemed confused. Queen Salt's glance kept moving between me and some invisible status window. Level 2 understanding. It was like a game. Was it like an experience bar in an RPG game? Her sigh seemed to say, no good worrying about it.
귀공은 누군가?
Maybe it was because she hit the next level, but the queen was starting to sound a bit more like royalty. I already told her my name, so was she asking for my job title? CEO.
CEO?
I own this restaurant.
귀공은 요리사?
Well, I make the food, so I guess that makes me the chef.
그렇군. 해괴한 요리 고맙다.
I couldn't tell if it was an insult or a compliment. Queen Salt gazed at the air in front of her yet again.
그런데 귀공은 이게 안 보이나?
No, whatever it is, invisible translator or status bar, I don't see anything, Your Grace.
그렇다면 이것이 왜 생겼는지도?
I can't even see it, so I definitely have no idea why it's there for you.
이해했다. 귀공의 주인은 어디 있나?
Excuse me?
귀공의 주인.
What? Queen Salt turned and glared at the invisible translator. She seemed to be getting frustrated, thinking that I didn't understand what she wanted to say. But I understood her perfectly well. She was asking me where my owner was, wasn't she? I don't have an owner.
사망했나?
No, it's because in this day and age, wait, could that be it? If she came from a different culture? Are you looking for some nobleman or king?
비슷하다. 성주는 어디 있나? 나를 성주에게 인도하라.
Oh, before we get to lords, there are no castles here.
응?
She'd probably die of shock if she took a step outside. Lord of the castle. She really did sound like a character from some fantasy world. Could that actually be the case? Anyway, I am the owner of this place. Only me. There is only one above me. There is no one above me or beneath me.
이해하기 어렵다.
Well, there are no slaves, no peasants, no nobility in this country. There is that expression about those born with silver spoons, though.
꿈?
I am not a dream. Could this really be that shocking? Was it really so bad that she just wanted to deny it was real? Queen Salt walked over to the door. She opened the door all the way and stared at the world on the other side. I wouldn't, you probably aren't ready to see all that. Queen Salt took it all in, looking more and more surprised with every passing second. I couldn't tell which part was the most surprising to her. She closed the door again. She stood there with her mouth hanging open, completely dumbfounded. Then, very quietly, she said something to herself. I couldn't understand what she said, but it was very quiet and sounded like some phrase in her own language. She lifted her head and looked straight back at me. She looked me right in the eye. She said something, and it sounded like she was on the verge of tears.
밖이 왜 이렇게 따뜻한가?
I looked at her, listening to the sadness in her voice. Maybe what truly shocked her was not the sights of this foreign city, but the temperature. This queen, where in the world was she from? See Queen Salt off. Queen Salt returns to the attic. Actions. Okay. Carry out the action. Queen Salt returns to the attic. That was a weird setup. After finishing her dessert and our conversation, she decided to go back upstairs. Queen Salt was glaring intensely at the portal she had come through earlier. She said her name was Queen Salt. Did that mean that a Salt Kingdom lay on the other side of that portal? Goodbye then. Weren't you headed back to your world? I enjoyed tasting the frozen treats of your world. Now it's time to go back to my own world. Isn't that what you want to say?
여왕은 돌아가지 않는다.
Huh?
여왕은 돌아가지 않기로 결정했다.
As our conversation went on, the translator seemed to be working faster. At first, the queen had to study the invisible translation window in front of her every time she spoke. As time passed, she began to speak quickly, as if she could understand the words as they were spoken. She definitely hadn't understood a single word in the beginning, but it was amazing how fast she had adapted. Maybe that's what she had meant by strange. She was actually starting to hear me. I finally began to understand what she had meant downstairs. It was as if she had cast some translation spell. She was beginning to understand me without the help of whatever translation window she had in front of her. She did check the invisible space between us every once in a while to make sure she'd understood everything correctly. But what was that a second ago? She said she wasn't going to go back? Why not?
왜요?
I mean, I'm curious what reason you have for not returning.
여왕은 질문받는 사람이 아니다.
Okay. Because she was royalty? But why did she keep referring to herself in the third person? Was that a translation error? Why do you keep referring to yourself as Queen Salt? You could just say I, right? Is your translator broken?
여왕은 그런 호칭을 쓰지 않는다. 그런 호칭은 평민이나 쓰는 것이다.
Ah, okay.
아니면 역시 여왕이란 단어가 어색한가? 대체어로 짐이나 과인이란 단어를 추천해주긴 하는데 그게 더 맞는 표현인가?
They all sound a bit outdated or too formal. Couldn't you just try saying I once? All this queen and one stuff is making me uncomfortable.
나?
Yeah, even presidents and prime ministers here refer to themselves as I and me. Lady and madam, those words make me feel like I'm in the Middle Ages or some woman's dungeon.
여왕은 이해하기 어렵다.
How about this? You're the queen of the land you come from, but you're not a queen here, right? You don't rule here. So why don't you loosen up a bit?
뭐?
Suddenly her eyes grew cold and narrow. The hostility in her gaze surprised me. Had I said something wrong? Had the translator made some grave error?
귀공도 나를 왕으로 인정하지 않는 것인가?
What? Oh, that's not what I meant. What I'd said had really pushed one of her buttons. Perhaps she was more stuck in her ways than I thought. I figured she would start yelling at me, but then tears began to well up in her eyes. Huh? She wasn't angry about what I'd said?
그런가? 귀공의 눈에도 그렇게 보였단 말인가? 내게 왕의 자질이 없다고. 생전 처음 만난 귀공이 그렇게 말한단 말인가?
Oh, it's not like that. It was horrible to see her deflate so quickly. So, you decided not to go back?
잘 모르겠다.
Then what are you gonna do?
모른다.
I'd never heard anyone declare their lack of direction with such confidence. I didn't know how to respond.
지금까지는 여왕이 이렇게 말하면 가신들이 의견을 말해주었다. 그러면 여왕은 그 이야기를 모두 경청한 후 결정을 해주기만 하면 됐다. 그런데 여기선 여왕에게 의견을 말해줄 가신이 아무도 없구나.
What happened on your side of the portal?
여왕은 말하고 싶지 않다.
Okay. What a proud woman. This sort of reaction, though, was she kicked out or something? I couldn't know for sure, but I had a strong feeling that something bad had happened on her side.
생각이 바뀌었다. 이만 돌아가야겠다. 여왕이 이곳에 오래 머물러봤자 좋은 일이 없겠구나. 그대에게도 많은 폐를 끼쳤다. 여왕답지 않은 모습을 보였어.
Yep. The queen walked towards the portal.
이 포탈은 그대가 열었는가?
No, I'm just as curious as you are where this thing came from.
이 포탈은 내 침실의 옷장으로 연결되어 있다.
Really?
그러니 함부로 들어오지 마라. 내 침실로 무단 침입하면 경비가 가만히 두지 않을 거야.
Got it.
뭐 그래도 그대가 만든 이상한 얼음 요리는 꽤 맛있었다. 그것만은 칭찬해주마. 혹시 그대가 불편하지 않다면 다음에 또 방문해도 되겠나?
Oh, well, I don't mind, if you can give me a little warning first. If you're planning on visiting often, it would be better to pick a day for your visits.
일정이라... 일주일에 한 번이면 괜찮은가? 일요일?
Yeah, Sundays would be fine, I guess.
아, 다음 주 일요일 오후쯤에 다시 찾아오마. 그때도 얼음 요리를 준비해주면 좋겠구나.
Understood. But Queen Salt, it seems like we're able to communicate quite smoothly now. Perhaps...
방금 한국어 레벨이 3으로 올랐다.
I guessed as much.
그럼 여왕은 이만 가보겠다. 그대의 앞길에 여왕의 축복이 있기를.
Queen Salt said those final words and walked back through the portal. Her exit was so natural that it hardly seemed to fit with reality. I almost wanted to follow her through to check if she was actually gone. But she warned me about going through the portal whenever I pleased. Queen Salt. What a peculiar person. Quite beautiful, too. Honestly, if some stranger had walked off the street and started spouting all of those lines, I wouldn't have believed a word of it. I'd have thought the person was out of their mind or method acting. But Queen Salt had clearly come through the portal. She could have told me any number of stories about the magical kingdom on the other side, and I would have eaten up every word of it. She said she'd be back next week. Until fate brought her through that portal, this place was just your ordinary snack shop. But for some reason, I had a feeling that things were about to get a lot more entertaining. See, press the open button to open the shop for the week. Earn profit for the week you're opening. New quests to pursue. Open reviews tab to view quests. Reviews. That girl froze the other one, but it tasted better than this. Who is the famous ice sculptor? Food always tastes best when someone else is buying. Hold on for dear life. I am hodling. Taste the red bean shaved ice requirement. I want a shaved ice for dessert that sticks to the basics. Learn how to make red bean shaved ice to complete the quest. Okay. $20 is required. Yeah. I asked her to sample my new creation. She took a bite and her reaction was... she must have liked it. I learned how to make red bean shaved ice. Okay, let's see her second visit. A week later, Queen Salt came back for another visit. I was working behind the counter when, at 1 in the afternoon, she gracefully descended the stairs. Queen Salt, you actually came back.
일주일 만이구나. 빙사공, 언제나 노고가 많다.
Yep, the work never ends. Wait, did you just call me... what did you guys call me? Ice sculptor?
응, 빙삭공.
Who and what is an ice sculptor?
소금 왕국으로 돌아간 뒤에 여왕은 그대에 대해 생각을 많이 했다. 그대는 얼음을 깎는 장인이 아닌가? 그래서 그대를 빙삭공이라고 부르기로 정했다.
Her explanation did make a weird sort of sense. It was a bit cringe-inducing, though. It seemed like a title to a fantasy novel. Is there any other title that we could use?
빙삭공이 마음에 안 드는가? 괜찮다. 여왕은 언제나 차선책을 준비해놓지. 다른 호칭도 물론 생각해보았다. 그대에게는 아주 명예로운 호칭이 되겠군. 얼음의 신이라는 뜻을 살려 서빙.
Ice sculptor is completely fine.
그래? 그럼 뭐 빙삭공이라고 부르겠다. 그럼 빙삭공, 이제 약속한 빙수를 만들어다오.
Okay. What kind would you like?
오늘은 이걸 먹어보고 싶군.
Queen Salt pointed at an item on the menu. After finishing her dessert, Queen Salt, there's something I've been wondering. In your kingdom, are magical portals a common phenomenon?
흔하지는 않지만 가끔 볼 수 있지. 왜?
Gotcha. A world with portals. Then it follows that you have magic as well.
마법도 있지.
And dragons fly around everywhere?
다른 대륙엔 있겠지만 아쉽게도 소금 왕국엔 용이 없다. 소금 왕국은 작은 섬이거든.
I gotcha. You really are from a fantasy world then. Then right when you laid eyes on that portal, you knew that it led to another world.
아니, 이런 곳으로 이어질 줄은 몰랐다. 기껏해야 다른 대륙으로 이어질 거로 생각했는데 이 영지는 내가 한 번도 들어본 적이 없는 곳 같구나.
Then you went through that portal without the slightest idea of where it would take you.
그렇지.
You didn't think that was the least bit dangerous?
그게 말이지. 여왕은 그러니까 피로가 많이 쌓여서 잠깐 바람을 쐬고 싶었던 것뿐이다.
So you're saying you went through the portal to get a breath of fresh air?
그래, 기분 전환을 하고 싶었던 것뿐이야.
Still, that seems like you're taking things a step too far, no?
그때는 기분이 그랬단 말이다. 성이 너무 답답하고 가신들도 꼴 보기 싫고 다른 곳으로 훌쩍 떠나고 싶은 마음이 들어서 그래서 잠깐 망설이다가 옷장 안에 생긴 이상한 포탈로 들어가 본 거야.
So you're saying there was no way you made this portal?
그래. 이유는 모르겠지만 내 침실에 옷장에 생겨나 있었다. 다른 사람이 발견하지 못하게 잘 닫아두었지. 뭐, 내 침실은 아무도 허락 없이 들어올 수 없으니까.
I think I got it. I understand. So you just... Basically, it sounded like you ran away.
가출이라니! 여왕은 그렇게 무책임한 행동을 하지 않는다.
But you just said you wanted to slip away, and you had no idea where this portal would lead.
아무튼 가출은 아니다. 마음의 재충전을 위해 잠시 허가를 구하지 않고 성을 떠난 것뿐이야.
Leaving without telling anyone was basically the definition of running away.
이곳은 춥지도 않고 날 괴롭히는 가신들도 없다. 그러니 가끔 들리는 것뿐이야. 그러니 오해하지 말아주면 좋겠군, 빙삭공.
Yeah. She was here because she didn't want to work. Message received. Oh, since you're here, would you like a small tour of this world?
그 제안은 꽤 매력적이라 여왕의 마음이 동하는구나. 그럼 현지 시차를 위해 마차를 준비하거라.
We don't use carriages here. We use something kind of similar. They're called cars.
그래, 내가 말한 게 그거다. 비슷한 이동수단이 있겠지.
Yet she was so confident in demanding a carriage a moment ago.
어서 그 자동식 마차인가 뭔가를 준비하거라.
Aye, aye.
오, 이 마차는 신기하게 생겼구나.
All right, why don't we stop it there? This is audap for you. You've been watching Miracle Snack Shop on PC. Well, seems like this is going to be a cute little journey. It's not just a typical click-through visual novel. It looks like I actually have to do some small bit of shop running as well. Doesn't seem that heavy though, so I think it'd probably be okay for me. Yeah, I think the translation so far is pretty good. The voice acting is surprisingly good. I actually didn't think it was going to be that high quality, but you know, this game was it's an older game. It was from 2018, kind of into 2019. So I did want to pick a newer game from the publisher, but that game, at least on Steam, wasn't translated. So, you know, I think this is probably a good enough journey for us, and sort of helps us get into you know, games that are not necessarily just Japanese or American visual novels. I sort of want something a little bit different. So yeah, here we are. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.